Hello and welcome to this week's Election Day edition of the Good 5 Cent Cigar Newscast. I'm Nathan Robillard. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we break down everything you need to know about the 2024 election results, discuss local results in Rhode Island, and give you an inside look into the Cigar's first ever live election coverage. And of course, Aiden Garvey will have you covered with all things Rhodey athletics in this week's Rhodey Sports Corner. As of the early hours of the morning on Wednesday, the 2024 presidential election was officially called in favor of Donald Trump. While not all of the votes had officially been counted by the conclusion of the race, Trump was the first to reach the required 270 electoral votes after key victories in swing states such as North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. President-elect Trump is also expected to win the popular vote. Here in Rhode Island, 42.3% of the vote went to President-elect Trump, despite the state voting blue for the 10th straight election. That number is up from 38.6% in 2020. As this historic election unfolded, we brought you live coverage as polls close across the country on election night. Here's a look at what went on behind the scenes of the Cigar's first ever live stream production during the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah, so my name is Jason Jaacks. I'm an associate professor of journalism at the University of Rhode Island in the Harrington School of Communication and Media. And the idea for this live stream was really co-authored out of a class that I'm teaching this semester, the Public Affairs Reporting Class, Journalism 320. And we knew this was going to be a really interesting semester to be teaching this course, given that there was a rather important national election happening. So we have focused a lot of the coverage, a lot of the reporting that students have been doing in that course has been focused on the election. And part of that came down to, what to do with election night. And now we have a beautiful studio facility at Rhode Island. The students, in collaboration with one another and with myself as a teacher, came up with this idea of experimenting. So what we ended up doing was putting together an assignment that students reported live today and shared those reports in collaboration with the Good 5 Cent Cigar, the students' paper on campus, and shared those posts and that reporting via Instagram. And so there was a lot of students. The students in the class were out in the field at polling precincts at various locations, gathering footage and gathering interviews and gathering photographs for an Instagram audience and sharing content via Instagram over the course of the day. And so that was kind of the first part of the coverage plan that the students came up with. And then we came up with this idea of wouldn't it be cool to live stream, not broadcast the traditional. We're not coming up against CNN here, but the idea was to put together some sort of production in which we could reach a much broader audience than we would be able to in other formats. We use live streaming technology going out via software programs that allow you to simultaneously live stream to YouTube and Instagram using a couple of different handles so that students could both report here from the Good 5 Cent Cigar office. We have transformed the newspaper office into a studio for the evening, and then we had students actually out in the field using their mobile devices to go out and interview their classmates.
In Rhode Island, the incumbent candidates were successful across the board in local races. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse retained his seat in the U.S. Senate with nearly 60% of the vote, while House Representatives Gabe Amo and Seth Magaziner also retained their seats with decisive victories. Finally, Rhode Island voters approved of 4 of the 5 proposed ballot questions on Wednesday. One of the approved questions proposed a $160 million bond to improve higher education facilities at URI and Rhode Island College, specifically targeted at biomedical sciences and cybersecurity. $87 million of the newly approved bond will fund design and construction of a new biomedical science building at URI. That will do it for our recap of this week's election. Now I'll kick it over to Aiden Garvey with this week's Rhody Sports Corner.
Thanks, Nathan. Welcome back to another edition of the Rhody Sports Corner. I'm Aiden Garvey. After a long wait, it was time for the Rhody men's basketball team to showcase their talents on their home floor in front of their fans. Our very own Peter Gigliotti was there to catch all the action as the Rams took on the Stags.
Thanks, Aiden. Well, the first game in the Ryan Center for the Rams results in their first victory of the season as URI takes down Fairfield University 96-58. Strong performances from fourth-year guard Jaden House and first-year forward Tyone Farrell certainly helped, but the strongest performance and the main story of the night coming from fourth-year guard Sebastian Thomas. Now, for URI fans, that name may sound familiar. Well, that's because Thomas, a Providence native, played for the Rams from 2021 to 2023, then transferred to UAlbany for one season before deciding to return to Kingston for his final year of eligibility.
Confidence for sure. I feel like that year at Albany helped me become a better person, a better basketball player. But basketball-wise, I'm just more confident in my game now. I feel like coach trusts me a little bit more, and my teammates trust me. So that's the difference.
Thomas led the Rams in scoring in his homecoming showing with 18 points, and head coach Archie Miller certainly had high praise for the returning guard.
First and foremost, Sebastian is a self-made player at this point in time. No coach should, sit there and take credit for him. He went out, he bet on himself, he played ferociously last year to prove himself, and he came back confident, hardened, older, and the bottom line with him is there isn't very much that you could say to him to bother him. There isn't very much that you can do to bother him, and at this point in time, he deserves a ton of credit for his not only the maturity of getting better, but going out there and earning things.
The Rams also addressed one of their biggest issues from last season, that being their free throw percentage, with the team shooting 82% from the charity stripe. For reference, that's their best percentage since November 19th, 2006 in a game against Centenary.
Last year, I think we were a top 20 free throw rate team in getting to the line, and I think we were almost dead last in free throw percentage. It was a big, big reason why things felt funny for us as a team last year. Our team shooting 41 free throws and making 34, something we've talked about all off season, and it's something that we've talked about all leading into this, about being able to dominate the free throw line, about being able to go up with confidence and make them.
URI will play next right here in Kingston as the Rams host both Holy Cross and Franklin Pierce. From the Thomas M. Ryan Center, I'm Peter Gigliotti, Rhody Sports Corner.
Thanks, Peter. And now let's take a look into the long week around URI athletics with some scores around campus. Rhody football continued their historic season on Saturday, taking down a powerful Monmouth offense on Family Weekend, starting their 2024 season 8-1 for the first time in 40 years. Women's basketball took down Stonehill on Monday in their home opener and beat the Skyhawks. Men's soccer lost their last match of the season to Davidson 2-1 on Saturday. Women's volleyball fell to VCU in both matches on Friday and Saturday, getting swept on day one and taking just a single set on day two. Men's cross country finished 9th of 15 at the A10 championships on Saturday. Women's cross country finished 8th of 15 at the same event. Finally, women's rowing competed at the Princeton Chase on Sunday. They had 3 boats competing in the Women's Open 8+, coming in 25th, 47th, and 64th place. That's all we have this week on the Rhody Sports Corner. Make sure to follow us on social media at Cigar_sports to keep up with all things Rhody athletics. Back to you, Nathan.
Thanks, Aiden. That's all we have for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us here and on Instagram at Rhody Cigar and pick up our print paper anywhere on campus to stay up to date with all of our election coverage and, of course, all your Rhody news. Until next week, I'm your host, Nathan Robillard. This is the Good 5 Cent Cigar Newscast, and as always, have a great week, Rhody.